Hello everyone, welcome back to another Wildwoods beekeeping podcast. Thank you all so much for joining in. I actually kind of got in a minute late, so I apologize, but I guess it's just minutes, it don't really matter. So real quick, I'm just gonna make sure my audio is working, which it is, my camera's working, background's good, so everything's running well. Hope y'all can hear me and see me fine. Thank y'all so much for joining in today on a cold but great Monday evening. It's 6:02 right here, and it is, I don't know what the temperature is exactly right now. It's around 42, 43 degrees. The low tonight's going to be 28. And I actually just saw a question, which I kind of wanted to talk about, when we're just kind of waiting for some people to get in here, kind of talking about, what do you think the weather is going to do to the flowers that are blooming? And I was kind of thinking that too. I'm glad you brought that up. A couple years ago, actually 3 years ago in 2023, we kind of had the same type of thing, but I think it was more in April, maybe early April, and it just killed all the flowers, and we just didn't have a good flow that year. But it's still early, and we're used to having these cold snaps early on because it just always happens. I knew we'd have a cold snap, so not really surprised by it. What will it do to the flowers that have bloomed? Maybe not. Maybe it won't be too bad. Grass is growing right now. Everything's blooming. Our pine trees have pollen. The pollen's starting to come back. That's the reason my allergies have been bad past couple of weeks. And tonight they've been okay. It's just weird with pollen and allergies. Is some days it's just really really bad, and some days it isn't, and then maybe an hour later, today it might be even worse than it is now. It's just kind of weird how allergies kind of happen. I'm sure all you are kind of familiar with that feeling. But yeah, I'm not really sure. Maybe it won't be maybe it won't kill all the flowers or anything. It won't do what it did a couple years ago. But if y'all will, make sure to click the thumbs up on your way in. I see a good amount of folks in here early on. It is kind of early. It's 6:03, but it's still bright outside right now. So many of you might be just getting off of work, maybe. So we'll give some people some time to jump on in, and we'll get into tonight's topic, which I'm really looking forward to talk about because it's really guided towards beginner beekeepers, but I really do think even advanced and even intermediate beekeepers will find something out of this, maybe a good little refresh. Somebody mentioned last week that's always a good refresh. Watching basic stuff. And I think that's the case too. It's good. Even I watch stuff that I already know how to do, whether it be beekeeping or even woodworking and other stuff that I already know how to do, just to kind of get a refresh. It's always good. But I see we got 9 people in here. Make sure you go click the thumbs up on your way in. I see Dennis, Mike Tangway, thanks for checking in, Mike. Appreciate you. Dennis says it's cool here. Yep, it's cold down here too. It's around 42, 41 degrees. The low tonight is going to be 28 down here. Let me know what's going on in your area. I think he said you're about an hour and a half away from me. Yep, I'm about 10 miles south of Troy, so we're probably maybe about an hour and a half away from each other. Hey Russell, thanks for checking in. Russell Amon, another loyal subscriber, somebody who always watches the channel. I always appreciate you checking in, and again, thank you for checking in. I see Pastor Larry and Miss Jan, Hallelujah Bee Farm. Thanks for checking in. Y'all, I appreciate y'all for joining in, and more people will be joining in, so I'll kind of shout them out as people kind of start coming in. But last night it actually kind of rained, and we got this little cold front behind it. Same thing as last week. So last week we had the same thing. We had a storm come in. It was a pretty severe storm, and it carried a cold front behind it. Same thing last night. Last night it really didn't get that bad of weather. Maybe a little bit of thunder, some lightning, but not really that bad. But the other day, whenever we had bad weather, it got pretty bad. Very very windy, and it's windy right now. The main thing right now is worse is really the wind, and that was the same thing that happened last week, like I just mentioned. Yeah, thank you. I do appreciate y'all. We like to support our friends and whatnot on live streams. I appreciate it, and I try to support as many beekeepers as I can. Oh, watch, yeah, I get you, and watch live streams. I try to watch as many live streams as I can. It's always hard to watch every single live stream, but try my best to watch as many live streams as I can. But so we got 13, 14 people on here. Make sure to click the thumbs up on your way in. I appreciate you if you're watching live, but many people do watch on the replay, so I do appreciate you watching on the replay as well. But if you will, make sure to click the thumbs up button, because it really does help me out to get this live stream out to more people, because YouTube likes that, so it's always appreciated if you do that. But other than that, there's really nothing else really going on right now to talk about. I will talk about some more stuff once we're done with the presentation, because I don't want to keep on dragging it out. We've already gone 6 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and get into tonight's topic. Just give me a quick second. I really didn't have everything prepared. Kind of came in a touch late. But tonight's topic, I'm really looking forward to talking about it. Like I said, I always get a little refresh. We're going to be talking about, as you can see on the title, how to prevent spring swarms in the spring. And hey Grayson, I'm here. So you start. Hey Philip, thanks for checking in. Appreciate you. But yeah, tonight's topic, we're going to be talking about how to prevent swarms in spring. And like I mentioned just a little bit ago, many of you probably already know how to prevent swarms, splits, whether it be Damari methods, walk away. There's some other ways to prevent swarms as well. But many of y'all know the main methods, and you know how to, because most of the people who watch me are more experienced and intermediate experienced beekeepers. So it's still good to get a little refresh. That's kind of what I always talk about. I see you, Rich West. Hello from Florida. I wonder. Thanks for checking in. Is your temperature's cold? Because it sure is cold here. We were actually just kind of talking about it. Got a little front last night. Behind the rain. But anyway, so tonight we're gonna be talking about how to understand swarm behavior, because it's important to try to understand how bees behave whenever they're swarming, whenever they're getting ready to swarm. Also trying to manage rapid spring growth, because in spring, growth happens faster than any season in beekeeping. It's just bees grow at a rapid pace, and within a week and a half or even a week, they can be ready to swarm. So you really need to stay on top of things. I've struggled that as well, but I tried my best to do that. I've actually already lost a swarm. I actually already had a colony swarm on me and wasn't able to re-get them, catch them, but which is unfortunate, but it's all good. But that's what we're gonna be talking about. So we first gotta get a understanding of swarming. So I kind of wanted to start out with the basic start to a topic is, why do bees swarm? Because to prevent swarms, you kind of want to know why bees swarm. And swarming is how beehives reproduce. And if colonies do not swarm, they can't grow. They can't reproduce. That's their way of reproducing. And if they don't reproduce, then bees will go extinct one day. So swarming, like I said, is their way to reproduce, and it is vital to beehive survival, whether it be just in your bee yard and feral colonies. So some common triggers is, number one, overcrowding in your hive, lack of space for brood or nectar, strong colony population, good nectar flow, and congestion in the brood nest. I kind of want to, let's dive a little bit deeper. Overcrowding in the hive is a reason why bees swarm, because they need room, and when they don't have room, they want to swarm to, relieve some congestion and also find themselves a new colony while reproducing. Now, just by giving them space, you can prevent your bees from swarming, but it does not prevent the chance of your colonies from swarming. Sometimes colonies will swarm even if you give them 2 boxes or a box on top of some extra space. They'll still swarm. So just because you add space does not mean that they're just not going to swarm, because they definitely will. Like I said, lack of space for brood or nectar. Congestion in the brood nest is really one that reason why bees swarm, because if you do not have enough room for the queen to lay, they are going to swarm. Your queen needs room to lay eggs, enough room to lay eggs, and if she doesn't have that, if they don't have that room, then she won't be able to lay. So they will swarm, and you'll see that in the colony whenever you're inspecting. You'll see if you see nowhere any space for your queen to lay, it's a sign that they're probably going to swarm soon. So you might want to relieve congestion, and we'll be talking about that as well on how to relieve congestion, which you can always put some take some of those frames out and give them to weaker colonies, and you can put some empty frames in there to kind of relieve it a little bit. So a swarm usually leaves with the old queen and about half the colony. So usually they'll always leave with the old queen. The only times I've seen colonies before, swarms with a virgin queen before, but most times those queens will be mated. But it's not uncommon to see a swarm with a virgin queen. Make sure y'all smash that like on your way in. I appreciate y'all joining in. We already got 18 people in here tonight. Actually, 19. I see Keith. I see Philip. I see Bee Collector Rick. I actually see the little. I can't say your name. I'm gonna get it wrong, so I do apologize. But it's a new person I see, or a new follower. So I appreciate you checking in. A new face. Appreciate you checking in. But anyway, let's kind of talk about some early signs of swarming. So here are some things to watch out whenever you are inspecting your colony. So you're kind of wanting to watch out for queen cups or queen cells. Queen cups does not mean your colony is, swarming, that they're about to swarm. It means they are getting ready to swarm. To know when they are going to swarm is whenever they have queen cells with larvae in it. If they have larvae in those queen cells, that means that they are going to swarm and you need to take action. Now, if you see queen cups just look like little cups, and they usually have no larvae in it. I see them all the time. You probably see them all the time as well. Don't panic over those. You don't have to split your bees if you see queen cups, but you do want to keep a notebook, or keep in your head, or even on notes on your phone or on your computer or whatever, that you saw queen cups, and you need to go back in probably 5 to 7 days to make sure your colony doesn't have queen cells, because they can make swarm cells within a couple of days, and they'll swarm within a week or a week and a half. Because I've had colonies before where I've checked them 1 week, and then the next they're gone. They already swarmed. So watch out for queen cups or queen cells. I'd say some early signs of swarming. Also, backfilling of the brood nest with nectar. Whenever that is a small sign, doesn't mean they're gonna swarm like queen cups or queen cups like we were talking about, but is a early sign. Reduce space for the queen to lay. That means that if you don't see enough space for the queen to lay, that means that they're probably gonna want to swarm, like we talked about earlier. A large population of bees. If you have a strong colony, they're going to want to reproduce. They're going to want to swarm. And a increased drone production. Now, many people think that drones are just useless, and that your colony doesn't need them, and that is false. Drones are really, really important for the survival of bees. Now they don't protect the colony, of course. They don't forage honey, but they do mate with queens. And if you don't have drones, then queens won't be able to get mated and lay fertilized eggs, because fertilized eggs come from sperm, which they get from drones. So you have to have drones for the survival of bees. And whenever you see drone production, that means they're calling. I love seeing drones, because that means my colony is strong enough to have drones. That means your colony is healthy. That means they're strong. That's just a natural way to know if your colony is strong, by seeing drones. Because a weak colony is not going to have drones, because they just don't have the population to support drones, because drones do take a lot more food and care, extra bodies in the colony that need food to be able to go on mating flights. So yeah, drones are important, and whenever you see more drone production, is a early sign of that they're strong and they're healthy. They could, in the next upcoming weeks or days, swarm. So just be on the watch out for those couple things to give you some early warning signs of swarming, so you can take action. All right, so let's kind of talk about adding space at the right time. So one of the easiest ways, this is one of the easiest ways to reduce swarm pressure. It's not going to eliminate it. Nothing is going to eliminate swarming because whenever bees want to swarm, they're going to swarm. So here's some ways to add space. So you could add another brood box. You could add a honey super. You could replace full frames that are in the bottom, those brood frames, take them out and give them to smaller, weaker colonies and replace them with drawn comb or foundation or even empty frames themselves. And you'll give your bees some more space, your queen some more space to lay eggs, and that will give your bees that will relieve congestion in the brood area, so your queen will have room to lay. Your queen having room to lay is really important because if she doesn't, then the bees will swarm, like I've been mentioning so far. So timing matters. Now, in beekeeping, timing matters all the time, but especially in swarming, in trying to make splits or anything like that, timing is everything. Waiting too long can allow swarm preparations to begin, and I've done that a lot. A lot of times, I've had times where I've waited too long, where I've thought that they're not ready for a box, where indeed they were, and that sometimes can yeah, you can overlook that in your beast and swarm. So I've made that mistake a lot, waiting too long, but it's just one that I'm sure we've all made. All right, so we've been talking about it all night long during this presentation, and it's time to kind of cover it a little bit. We kind of want to talk about brood nest congestion because it's a real thing. Whenever your bees just start pumping up with brood, start brooding up real heavy, and your queen's starting to lay real good. Pollen's coming in, nectar's coming in. Right now we have pollen coming in. We don't have nectar coming in. It's cold outside right now, so hopefully this cold weather won't mess with it, with the pollen or anything. But you're going to have all pollen nectar coming in, and that's going to stimulate your queen to lay eggs. And whenever she starts laying eggs and she doesn't have room to lay, you might have a little bit of an issue. So when the brood nest becomes crowded, congestion, the queen has fewer places to lay, then the worker bees will start to prepare swarm cells, and nectar can get stored in brood frames. A lot of times what will happen is whenever those cells start to emerge, bees will backfill the frames with nectar. So whenever they do that, whenever you have nectar in the frames, I've had it a lot of times, we call that honey bound. And your queen won't have any room to lay then either. So just be on the watch out for brood nest congestion full of brood. Be on the lookout for honey-bound hives. If you have honey-bound hives, what do you do? Well, what you're going to have to do is either take some of those frames out and give them to other colonies and add a whole bunch of empty frames or drawn frames or foundation frames to let them draw it out and then give the queen some more room to lay. Or you could harvest those frames real quick and put some new frames in there. And then whenever you're done with your frames that you harvested, you could use those frames for other colonies for the same thing. And it's just kind of a little rotation. You could do that as well. There's many different ways to relieve congestion, brood congestion, or even honey-bound colonies. All right, so this is one of the main ways beekeepers prevent swarms. And it's like one of the main ways. This is how I prevent swarms. Is making splits. So splitting strong, healthy colonies can relieve swarm pressure, and it will at the same time it will give you colonies to either sell, nukes to sell, or to keep yourself to expand, and it also prevents swarming. And I'll talk a little bit about the idea behind splits in just a second, but let's kind of talk about the benefits. So the benefits is it reduces overcrowding, uses extra brood and bees productively, expands your apiary if you want it to, and allows you to raise or introduce queens. Now, I let the colonies raise their own queens. What I actually do is whenever they get ready, I let them make swarm cells and use those swarm cells to split. I actually had a recent video. It's actually starting to pop off. It's doing really, really well. For some reason, y'all love those split videos. Every single video that has 4 splits from one, it always gets good views. I really don't know what YouTube really likes about it, but it really does. YouTube always pushes it out for some reason. But I'm glad y'all enjoy those videos, and it's always fun to show you how I do splits. And you can always just go back and watch that video later on, and you'll get the idea of kind of how I do it. But let's kind of talk about the backstory about splits. How does splits eliminate swarming? Because I really do think that splits do eliminate swarming, and the way that they get rid of swarming most of the time. Sometimes they'll still swarm. I've had that happen before as well, a couple times. Not many, but it still can happen. Splits is a natural way to split a natural swarm. It kind of represents a natural swarm. It isn't a natural swarm, but it represents one. Because if you think about it, whenever you make a split, you're taking the queen away from the original colony. And then you also be taking a lot of bees away. So a natural swarm, as we know it, the queen, the old queen, and half of the colony will leave, and then the half of the colony stay with the swarm cells. Once you have swarm cells in the colony, whenever that queen goes away, the queen sends out pheromones, so the bees can sense those pheromones, and they know whether the queen is gone or not. And whenever they can't sense those pheromones, then they know the queen is there, and it's just kind of a natural way to imitate a swarm. And it works, and I've done it a whole bunch of times, and I'm sure everybody in the chat who's watching this live stream, or if you're watching it on a replay, I'm sure you've performed splits as well, and I'm sure you've had some success with it. I have, and at least the last 2 years, had some success with it, and was able to successfully expand my apiary and prevent swarming. So it's a good way to prevent swarming, grow your colonies, and reduce overcrowding of your brood nest, and allows you to raise or introduce queens. Because some people like to use splits, make some splits, and instead of letting them raise their own queen, sometimes people will just raise their own queens, queen rearing sometimes. So we kind of talked about another method, and I've been talking about it all night long. It's about removing brood frames, or even if your colony is honey bound, removing honey frames. I do that all the time. I kind of want to talk about it as well. Another simple technique is removing frames of brood from a congested colony. So what you can do is remove 1 to 2 frames, or even 1 to 3 frames of brood. And what you can do is use them to strengthen weaker colonies or make nukes, splits, basically. And so what this will do is this reduces population pressure inside your colony and gives your queen more room to lay. Now, if you have honey in a honey-bound colony, you'll do the same thing. You could either give that honey to colonies that don't have as much honey, or a colony that is a little bit weaker that needs some honey, or you could just harvest those frames and put some new frames in that colony, and then you can use those frames that you harvested and use them for whatever you want to use them for. Whether it be another split, whenever you're moving into a 10-frame box, having some drawn comb can be valuable. And now it will be kind of broken up a little bit whenever you're in your extractor, but the bees will fix it, and we'll get it right back into shape. So another very important thing to do during spring, I see Tom and Melissa via Honeybees just checking in. Thanks for checking in, y'all. I appreciate y'all joining in. I just see a quick question. I will answer it before we talk about this one. It says, "Hey Grayson, how many colonies do you have coming out of winter?" I've came out of 13. I actually already had a colony swarm on me. I wasn't able to catch them, and actually already had another colony that had swarm cells, and I had to split them. So I had a video recently kind of showing those splits, and I have 12, maybe 13 colonies with queens, and 3 colonies without them, so 16 in total. But I don't really like to count my chickens before they hatch, of course. But anyway, let's go. Next thing I kind of want to talk about, which is important, is to monitor your colonies during spring. Now, every beekeeper does this, but spring colonies can change very quickly. I talked about that just a little bit ago, that within a week, your colony can go from three to four frames of bees to 6 to 8 frames of brood and more bees. It's just how fast they can grow and expand within a short period of time. It's happened to me a whole bunch of times where I went into a colony one week and then about a week and a half later, I'm just stunned on how fast they've expanded. And this happens in spring because this is the time when they start expanding and you have nectar coming in, you have pollen coming in, and it's the springtime, and that happens every year. So what you want to do is you want to inspect regularly to check for a good brood pattern, hive population, available space. If they need more space, add more space, and to check for queen cells or even queen cups to get an idea kind of if they're getting ready to swarm. And I talked about queen cups earlier, so if you missed that part, you can always go back and check that out. Frequent inspections can help you stay ahead of swarm preparations from the bees preparing to swarm. All right, so this is really important. When I kind of want to talk about this, is really goes back to biology of bees. Whenever your bees swarm, if you lose a swarm, just always remember that swarming is natural. It's not some bad thing. The reason why bees swarm is to reproduce, and that's how colonies. That's how bees survive. That's how they've survived through hundreds of years. That's how they survived, because if they didn't swarm, they'd be extinct, because that's how they reproduce. So even well-managed colonies, you could inspect them once a week, 5 to 7 days. You can inspect them 5 to 7 days, and that'd still swarm. You could do anything you wanted to do and add space, relieve the brood nest area, and they'll just go right back up and expand, and then they'll swarm. They'll swarm if they want to swarm. The goal of swarm prevention is to reduce the chances of losing bees, maintain strong honey-producing colonies, and keep the apiary manageable. Another goal of preventing swarms is to be able to expand your apiary and reduce the chance of losing bees while expanding your apiary if that's what you want to do. So working with the biology of bees is really important and key to being a beekeeper. Not just in swarms, but in anything. All right, so let's kind of just go back into our review mirror and kind of look at some key takeaways of our discussion about swarm prevention, how to prevent swarms in spring. So strong colonies are the most likely to swarm because they're strong and healthy. They have a lot of bees. They have a good queen. They're probably starting to get a little bit of congestion in the brood nest area, and it's just strong colonies swarm the most. You also want to watch for early warning signs, like we talked about earlier. All those warning signs. Also, add space before congestion builds. Splitting colonies can relieve pressure and gives you more colonies to sell or keep yourself. And regular inspections are important during spring buildup to ensure that they are healthy and strong, and that you can find issues if there's issues, and also try your best to prevent swarms. Now, if you do lose a swarm, it's not the end of the world. It'll be fine. There are some. You may be wondering, what's the positive of losing a swarm? The main thing I would say of losing a swarm sometimes, and you can do this splitting as well, is it's kind of a natural way of requeening, of getting a new queen. People, I've talked to a lot of people, and they'll say the same thing. It's a natural way of requeening, but if you can, try to prevent your swarms, and that will give you some. Be able to expand your apiary to be able to split, or if you don't want to split and you want to make honey, you can do the Damari method. I'm not going to be talking about that tonight, but maybe sometime down the road we'll do a chat and discuss all about the Damari method. So that's really it of this little presentation. Now I'm not really going anywhere. I'm gonna stay live right here. Y'all can ask questions. Anything I want to talk about, any specific topic, Feel free to put them in the chat. Make sure y'all click that thumbs up button on your way in. Don't forget to do that because that really does help me, and it also helps this live stream get out to more viewers because the YouTube algorithm loves whenever viewers interact with videos, whether it be liking, commenting, just like you're doing tonight. We got 25 people on here. It's a good amount of people in here. I appreciate y'all checking in. So, if anybody's new in here and y'all haven't really been keeping up, missed some of the videos, right now I have 13 colonies. All of them are well. All of them, actually, excuse me, I came out with 13 and I did some splits and now I have 16. But 3 of them don't have queens. All right, so let me real quick go back. I saw some questions from some folks that I want to make sure I do not miss because I don't like missing questions. There's one time where I missed a question where it was a really, really good question, and I still wish I didn't miss it. Let me go back. Easy to get impatient when making splits with weather issues we have here in South Carolina. Yep, it has a lot of weather issues, and you know I did make splits, and I checked them yesterday because I knew this little cold. I knew this cold snap was coming. I didn't know it, you know, when I made splits because the weather forecast didn't extend that long. But whenever I saw we were gonna have a little cold snap, I went into those colonies to make sure they have enough food, to make sure that they have enough bees, and I think they'll be fine because this is going to be about a 2-day little span. It's going to warm back up, so I just want to make sure they had enough food and they wouldn't starve in those splits that I made. Here's a question. This is the one that I wanted to answer. One question: what feeder should I use in the spring and summer? I have a frame feeder and a pail feeder. Which is the best and when to use? Now that's a really, really good question. The one I would definitely say not to use, and you didn't mention any of those feeders, is the entrance feeders. You may know what I'm talking about. The entrance feeders. I don't use entrance feeders. To me they're just not that efficient. I prefer to feed from the top. That's how I do it. And if you feed from the entrance, you can induce the chances of your colony getting robbed by other bees, especially during the dearth. During summer, if you're down south, and I'm sure many other places in the United States. I'm not familiar with your other people's nectar flows, when they start, when they end, if they have a dearth or not. But down here, we do have a dearth during summer. But I would just not use a frame feed. I would not use a entrance feeder, but a frame feeder, a pail feeder from the top. Any of those are the best ways to feed your bees. And you're kind of asking frame feeder and pail, which is best. I really don't have a more favorite. I don't use frame feeders, and the only reason why I don't use frame feeders is because I've never bought any. If I did buy them, I'm sure I would like them. I'm sure they work great. Just haven't bought any. But I do use pails, buckets. I use 1 gallon buckets, 1-to-1 sugar water, and I really like feeding that way. But just whatever works for you. You could try both ways on different colonies and see which one works better, but I think both are fine and both work real good. Well, obviously, I see we got 24 people on here. Thanks for checking in. Make sure you click the thumbs up button on your way in. I appreciate it. I see Bee Collector Rick checked in around 6:11. Well, that was like 30 minutes ago, 28 minutes ago. Thanks for checking in, Rick. Keith. Hey Grayson, Philip, Mike, and everyone else in the chat. Thanks for checking in, Keith. He checked in about 6:12. It actually shows me the time of whenever somebody commented, which is pretty cool. I see Brian from Colorado. Thanks for checking in, Brian. Flower Street Farm Bees. Checked in around 6:13. I see Larimore Farms, Keith. Thanks for checking in. I appreciate you. Who else? Let's see who else we got in here. We got a lot of comments in here while I was doing the presentation. It's supposed to be 33 here tomorrow morning and 95 on Saturday. Crazy. Yep. It is real crazy on how fast temperatures can go up and down. So today, the low tonight's going to be 28. But I think it's going to be Thursday, we're going to have a high of around 80. I don't quote me on that, but I think that's what when I looked at it, it's what it said. See Tom and Melissa. Randy, Tar Heel Beekeeper. Thanks for checking in. How many, Larry Moore, how many colonies would you like to go into next winter with if you plan on expanding? I do plan on expanding this year. Already started with some splits. I do want to see kind of how the queens do. I just want to see if they can get back mated. Don't have a specific number I would want to get to. I would like to go in with about. I'd be fine with going in with 18. I mean, 18 or more, I'm fine with, because next year I could expand even more. Around 20 would be my sweet spot, I would say. But it just depends on what the bees do. If all my colonies start going crazy and all of them start making swarm cells and double deeps, and I do these 5 frame splits, 4 from 1, I could get to 25, 28, 26 wouldn't be a hard stretch, because if you think about it, I just did math. If everything lined up perfect, I could, with have not the splits, because the splits I made, I'm not gonna be able to split them again unless they somehow grow up pretty fast into a 10 frame box. Those will just go into next year. I'm not gonna do anything with them this year, but with all the others, if they do well, and I could get 8 more colonies. It isn't a wild stretch, but we'll just see. It just depends. But I do want to look at my weather real quick, so y'all just give me just a second. I'm going to pull up the weather just to kind of see what our temperature is looking like. We are in a freeze warning for our area. So, I mean, yesterday it was storming last night, and all of a sudden we're in a freeze warning. I was also keeping up with the weather in other states. Up there a little bit more, where was it? Maybe in Indiana, Illinois, maybe. I can't remember exactly where it was, but it was like storms, severe thunderstorms, tornadoes, stuff like that. And then, like, really not that long after, maybe 30, 45, maybe even an hour later, snow. So it's just crazy with the weather this year so far. It's just, I found that real crazy to me. If how close the snow and came right after the storms last night. Let me share my screen real quick. I got to do that because that's just kind of how I do it. I'm going to share the screen. Weather. There we go. All right, so I think this is our weather right here. So 10-day forecast. I don't think that is right. The high today is 56. Today, the high was like 47. So don't really look at that. Today, the high was 47. It's kind of cold. Able to survive out there because I had to go outside and do some stuff out there for a little bit. But it wasn't bad. But it was kind of cold with the wind. The low tonight's 28. I wish it wouldn't. I really wish it would just stay warm. I wish we wouldn't be getting into these low nights. But we will be getting back to a little bit more warmer temperatures on Wednesday, which is good, and Thursday 70. So I was off. I thought it was around 80, but this weekend Monday is gonna be 85. So we're looking good from Thursday to next Wednesday. So that will be really good for the bees. Do more work out there and do some stuff. All right, so also what I want to do real quick is I'm gonna go on my Etsy shop. This is what I do I'm just doing what I do every live stream. So I always just kind of share out kind of my stuff that I have going on, and I gotta see if I'm sharing my screen still. Give me a second. There we go. So if you haven't already checked it out, many of you have already checked out my Etsy shop, Wildwoods Honeybee Co. I'll show y'all some of the stuff if you haven't checked it out. I'll leave the link it's in the description below in the live stream. And it'll also be in the comment section. I'll put it in there just a second. But many of you have already seen posts, and I'm sure you all see it all the time. But if you've already checked it out, and I appreciate you checking it out, make sure to favorite some items or stuff like that. I think it works kind of like YouTube. If you favorite something, it gives it out to more people or whatever. It's just kind of how algorithms work. I guess that's just kind of the same. So all that's appreciated. But some basic items, assemble 10 frame boxes, supers, migratory top covers, and actually recently I was working on a project just kind of for fun, a screened bottom board because I kind of want to make some screen bottom boards just kind of see how they work, and I found some relatively easy plans to just basic ones to make a screen bottom board. Pretty much every screen bottom board is the same concept really, and those are now available on my Etsy shop for order. Actually, somebody ordered some today, a bottom board today, so I got to get that kind of readied up and ship that out sometime. I got to build it first, but there's two options: is unassembled and assembled. So if you do buy the unassembled down here, $24 just for a unassembled screen bottom board. You have to assemble everything yourself. So the frame, as you can see in the middle there, screen won't be on it, so you'd have to put it on yourself. So you might prefer just to get it already assembled so you don't have to do all that. But if you have tools and if you have all that and you want to save a little bit of money, then the unassembled are available and you can do that. But just whatever you prefer, if you're interested, of course. I just try to make everything as available for folks as possible. Also, let me put, and that's about it. Migratory top covers, everything you would need for beekeeping, and I gotta figure out how to do it, but I think let's see if still have that promo thing. No, I don't think so. I actually had a new promo code for March going into April. If you want to get 5% off your order, it's just Spring 5. So if you're interested in ordering, you don't. I'm not saying you don't have to. Just make it as accessible as possible. The promo code is Spring 5 to get 5% off your order. Now I know 5% off probably isn't that much, but still save some money. I guess everything counts. So that's there as well. It's just Spring 5, and that's the promo code. And so there's that. I'll leave the link in the comment section if you're curious. And you can check it out if you're interested. Let's see here. I'm gonna do that. See, I'm gonna go back to some comments because I was just kind of sharing some stuff, so I wasn't able to see it. Another idea on spring feeding small splits would be to feed a lighter sugar ratio. They will not store light syrup as it is more hand to mouth. This can be beneficial if nectar flows are inconsistent. I mentioned that before, and I do that a lot of times too. A little bit more thinner sugar syrup because regular nectar is a little bit more thinner than 1-to-1. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I did some reading about it and some research and found out it's a little bit more thinner than 1-to-1. So I usually will do, especially in spring, I'll do 1 cup sugar to 3 cups water. I do real thin. That saves sugar while also being able to use more sugar for more buckets. To feed those 1-gallon buckets that I use. Yeah. Also, I see some people kind of talking about that question about the feeders and the pails and the frame feeders about you should avoid feeding during dirt. Yeah, you should or during a honey flow. Excuse me. Yeah, you probably shouldn't feed during honey flow. Whenever you have a honey flow, you're good to go to let your bees take that in. And sometimes you'd prefer. Sometimes beekeepers will even feed splits during a flow. But last year, whenever we had a flow and I did splits, I didn't feed the splits. I just let them get next to themselves, and they did fine for me. In the spring, I feed 2-to-1, 2 water, 1 sugar. So yeah, but I guess everybody's kind of same. They do the same thing. Um, I'll do sometimes 2 to 1, water sugar, and then sometimes I'll even do 3 to 1. Just around that, not too thin where there's practically no sugar in there, because then you're just giving them water, but just enough, to make it a little bit more thinner. And I really do like feeding that way, and it works for me. Kind of what Tom and Melissa said. Rick, if colonies need feed, you may not be able to afford not to feed them. Healthy colonies should be able to produce enough to offset the cost of them. Yep, you're right on that. So I'm trying to think if there's any more updates or anything going on here. There's not really much going on. Actually, there is a lot going on, but just nothing new yet. I'll keep y'all updated, but real still busy. Of course, I'm not saying that there's nothing really going on, but just nothing new. Splits are all looking fine with this cold weather. Just trying to make sure they have enough food, which I did yesterday. Actually, I think I did the day before. I can't remember which day it was, but just make sure they were fed good. They have enough food in there. Don't want them to starve through this little cold snap. We have these cold snaps all the time, so I'm used to it. But when the bees start flying, and you have these cold snaps, sometimes your bees can be running out of food stores because they're flying in the warm weather, and then turn to cold all of a sudden. But we had actually kind of the same thing happen, the other day. I forgot which day it was. I think it might have been Wednesday night going to Thursday, or it might have been Monday night. I can't remember exactly when. It might have been Tuesday night. I can't remember. But yeah, I think it was Wednesday night. Yeah, it was Wednesday night. There we go. Yep, it was Wednesday night. We had a storm come through, and then we had the next day. It was cold all day. Now it did warm up the next day. It didn't stay cold for long. It stayed cold for about a day. I think it got down to maybe 39, 38. For a lot of people, that ain't really that bad, but for us, it's pretty chilly. But it warmed up really pretty quickly. And we're kind of going through it again. So it's supposed to warm up on Wednesday. Supposed to get up 62 on Wednesday, which will be much nicer. Hey, Grayson, Jack, and Danae, thanks for checking in, y'all. Good to see y'all. Grayson, you have a nice store with the equipment and the merch. Thank you very much. I've just been kind of working on it past couple of days, past couple of weeks. Just working on the pictures, working on things, getting things better, trying to get decent prices on things if people are interested in buying it. If people don't know, I build stuff for myself. I don't buy equipment from people. The only thing I do have to buy is frames. I've tried building frames. I've looked at plans for frames, but it's just tried a couple of times with some 2x4s and just kind of on a higher level than what I can do. Just kind of difficult, But I do like boxes, bottom boards, lids, and boxes. And maybe one day I'll try them out. But I just been working on it a little bit, working on kind of how I do with the YouTube channel, with all the pictures and logos and stuff like that. I think it's going pretty well. I actually got an order today. Had somebody buy one of my unassembled bottom boards, so I'm gonna get that out in the next couple of days. And let's see. We got a question here. When the bees swarm, you lose your queen, a lot of bees, and a lot of honey. I guess that's a question. Yep. Whenever your bees swarm, you don't usually lose a lot of honey. Rich, you'll lose half your colony, and you'll lose your queen. But your bees will have swarm cells, and then they'll get themselves a new queen, while your other colony leaves with half the bees. And what the other half of the bees with the bees that leave, you can they'll go out and find themselves a new home, and draw up more comb in their new home, and the queen will start laying eggs, and they'll make themselves a brand new colony. That's how they reproduce. Do homeschoolers get spring break? And we do get spring break. With homeschooling. With homeschool, many people might not know. I do homeschool. Don't go to public school, but I just do homeschooling. You can do it from morning right around lunch, so it gives you the rest of the day to do bees and do whatever you need to do. And sometimes you can do it a little bit later as well if needed. But yeah, I do get spring break. Yeah. A commercial in Spanish. Oh, you got a commercial on the live stream? Yeah. If you have any more questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll answer them here. We got about 9 minutes left. We got 27 people on here. Great live stream tonight. A lot of people in. I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all click that thumbs up button. I do appreciate that. It helps the channel out. Get this out to as many people as we can. Maybe get out to some newer beekeepers who are wondering how to prevent swarming, because it is important to kind of talk about to get the information out there. Grayson, new video, bees gone wild. Yeah, my bees are going wild right now. They're they're expanding crazy. They're growing, they're expanding, and they're all looking good. So once this little cold snap goes by, I'll go back out there and check for swarm cells. I'm on high alert because I've already had one colony swarm. Didn't catch them. The second one, I did catch some swarm cells. And y'all can watch the video, but I did not see eggs in the colony. The colony did not look like they swarmed to me, really. I mean, they might have, but the colony was strong. But I didn't really see a mated queen, and I also didn't see eggs. So I suspected that they already swarmed. So if they did, I only had 12 colonies with a queen. So I think they already swarmed. But it's fine, because if they already swarm, you can still I still split my bees even if they swarm, as long as there's a good amount of bees in there, which there was, because I double checked to make sure there was a lot of bees in there and went ahead and split them, and all the splits have really, really good numbers. I mean, I'm really happy with the bees that stayed, because there's actually a decent amount of worker bees that stayed in each of those splits, because all my splits, I kept them in the same yard. Hey, Grayson, do you have plans for increase this year? I do. This year, I plan to expand. I plan to do the same thing I did last year. Just expand. I'm kind of focused more on expanding again rather than honey. Maybe I'll just do half and half. Half the colonies will split, and the other half will not split and focus on honey. That's probably what I'll do. But I'll be kind of focusing on increasing how many colonies I'm going to increase to. My plan this year is to let the bees make swarm cells like I did last year. Make sure most of them are in double deeps, and once they have swarm cells, split them all, and the ones that don't have queens, I put those swarm cells in there. And then one of the splits that has the old queen, I make sure that there's no swarm cells in there. But yeah, but the number of colonies I want to go into winter with, somebody actually asked that earlier about how many colonies I want to go into winter with, and I'm happy with 18. I'm happy with 20. I'm happy with 25. I'm happy with 22, 23, 24. Whatever number's fine. Sweet spot would be right around 25, 24. I think would be fine. Grace, I think Bruce has the same hat you have on. Is that an Amazon hat? Oh, you mean this one? Is it an Amazon hat? Well, it's actually not an Amazon hat. It's actually an Alabama hat. But I get the joke though. I'm a big Alabama fan. I always root for my team here and for a team in Alabama, whether it be football, basketball. I even sometimes keep up with the baseball. Baseball teams and anything else. Alabama football, Alabama athletics. Tom, it's an Arkansas hat. You know what? That's funny. I recently I actually bought a hat, an Alabama hat off of Amazon, and they sent an Arkansas hat. Like, really, it's kind of funny that you mentioned that. They sent an Arkansas hat. So we had get them to send me the right one. I'm like, you trying to make me an Arkansas fan or something? And they took it back and I was able to get my Alabama hat. In my splits of last week are capping emergency sales yesterday. I'll get you. Yeah, that's good. Well, I guess we're getting somewhat close to wrapping it up tonight. We've got about 5 more minutes, so we'll kind of go on for just a couple more minutes here, just to kind of see if there's any more questions or anything that you'll have, and then I'll get going, and I'm sure there'll probably be some other chats y'all can hop on to tonight. But a good amount of people on here tonight. We actually got up to 30. So I really do appreciate y'all joining in here. Like I said, my Etsy shop link, if you haven't checked it out, make sure to check it out. It's in the description below. Also, right there in the comment section, I just put it in there. Also, you can find it in the about section of my YouTube channel. I keep it as accessible as possible for people who might be interested. I actually do also have honey on the shop as well. I have stands, feeding shims, solid bottom boards. I actually have one of my own styled hat. Let me see here if I got it right here. I actually sell these right here. These Wildwoods Honey Farms hat. Also sell mugs, stuff like that. So I always keep it as accessible as possible. You never know. You might want to buy one of these hats and walk into the North American Honeybee Expo next year, and rep Wildwoods Honey Farms. Yeah. Good night, y'all. Been great. Thanks so much for checking in, Keith. Good night to you, and see you next time. I'm about to be heading out here too, y'all. Getting about that time. I usually run for about an hour, so I don't usually go past an hour. Always good, just kind of keep it right around an hour, and then get going. And I've been on a nice little streak here. Being able to keep kind of 5 in a row so far. Sometimes I do break. Sometimes, today I made this live stream out of nowhere. I really didn't know what I wanted to talk about tonight. So I was just thinking, do I want to do my live stream tonight or do I want to just skip it? So I decided I kind of wanted to do it because they're always fun. And so I was glad able to do it and have a good topic to talk about, preventing swarms. And actually, let's see here. I want to do something real quick because I think, if I am not mistaken, this live stream tonight, this one right here, is actually the 100th, the episode 100 of the Wildwoods Honeybee Chat. So I've done a 100 live streams in the last 3 years. I think this upcoming year will mark 4 years that I've been doing it. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Walkaway for sure. Yeah, walkaway splits are really ideal. That's a good method to use. Congratulations, thank you. And I thought it was pretty interesting. I just kind of was looking at it. I was like, I wonder how many live streams I've done. So I just kind of counted them. I was like, oh well, tonight's the 100 episode. So I was like, that's pretty cool. Yeah, 100 episodes of it. Yeah. So I guess we'll go ahead and start wrapping things up for tonight. I appreciate y'all so much for watching. I see some new folks in here tonight, so thank you for you newer people who checking in. I appreciate you watching. It's always greatly appreciated. On your way out, if you haven't already, make sure to smash that thumbs up. But if you've already clicked the like button, thank you so much for watching. You don't have to, but if you haven't, make sure to don't forget to do that. It helps me out. And I always greatly appreciate y'all's support. And I'll probably be doing my live stream next week as well. And if you haven't already, make sure to check out my recent video because that video is actually doing well. Y'all really enjoy those split videos. So make sure if you haven't already, check that one out. You can get an idea of kind of how I do splits. Kind of what I've been talking about all night. But thank you all so much for watching. And we will catch you next time. Good night, everyone.